This is the Automotive Blockchain channel, and welcome everyone for getting into the Automotive Blockchain channel bus. Hey, we are going to kick this thing off, but before I do, I want to say a great love dub goes out from my heart to those of you who are tuning into this channel. Thank you very much for all the subscriptions. I do appreciate it. Pass these videos on if you like the content to you, your friends, your neighbors, the dog, the cat, anyone you think that will enjoy it. All right, so today I'm going to pose some questions and get into some nitty-gritty of things. It's called climate change. It's called what in the world do two German manufacturers, and yes, there are other manufacturers, German manufacturers have with respect to their ambitious, as you see on the screen, ambitious efforts to make sure that they meet CO2 standards happening in Europe. Now, that being said, you see here in this particular title, the global Mercedes-Benz supply chain is becoming CO2 neutral. And I want you to pay close attention to, as part of what? The Ambition 2039. Ambition 2039 is something that Mercedes-Benz is pushing out to make sure, that's how they're marketing this, pushing ahead with the transformation to CO2 neutrality with a package of measures along the entire value chain. Now you've bounced over to BMW, and this is also here from May of this year. The BMW Group, over 200 million tons. BMW Group sets ambitious, see how the language programming happens, goal to reduce CO2 emissions by 2030. Now I want you to pause right there. Now think about the manufacturers. They produce a lot of cars, a lot of awesome cars. Yeah, I'm more of a Mercedes-Benz fan than a BMW fan. It's just the way that it is. But needless to say, they produce these vehicles, and that is a lot of let's just face it, in some cases, a lot of pollution. So they want to make sure that they reduce the CO2 emissions. All right, keep this in mind as I show you a couple of article heads over here from Reuters. Keep in mind, this is April 20th, just a little bit ago this year. Analysts raise EU carbon price forecast as tougher climate targets loom. Also from Reuters, same time frame, April 20th. Yes, both of these are from April 20th. Okay. EU carbon price hits a record high above 45 euros a ton. So what we have here, we'll just scroll down just a little bit. All right. Analysts have raised their European carbon market average price forecasts after prices hit record highs this month, meaning the month of April 2021, on expected toughening of EU climate targets. And as cold weather drove up the cost of carbon permits. So I want you to throw this into the automotive perspective. These vehicles, these manufacturers, they are producing vehicles, and as a result, it is cold outside, so they may have to burn more energy in order to produce the particular vehicles, to keep the computers warm, all that other kind of stuff. And I know computers and the servers and stuff need to be cold, but you get my point. They have to produce more emissions in order to produce the vehicles. And as a result, they're being charged to buy these particular permits so that they can produce this vehicle. So they're called EU allowances. Now these EU allowances are expected to average 46.28 euros per ton in 2021 and 55. That's literally going up by a factor of, let's just call it 9.5 or so euros in 2022. Okay, that is a lot. All right, that is a lot more euros when you think per ton. The average forecast for prices in 2023 was 56.2. So it's going up. Now, here's something I want you to pay a close attention to. Keep in mind, these are automotive manufacturers and they are producing vehicles. Watch this. Now, you just read here that cold weather is driving the costs up. All right, now watch this. About 45% of European Union's output of greenhouse gases is regulated by the Emissions Trading System, the ETS, which was set up to tackle global warming. I'm going to pause right there for everybody. By charging for the right to emit carbon dioxide. All right. I'm going to repeat this, which was set up to tackle global warming by charging for the right to emit carbon dioxide, CO2. All right, so that's an interesting thing. So it's getting colder, they have to produce more CO2, and as a result, they have to buy these allowances. I get it, we want to make sure that these things are being reduced, meaning CO2 is being reduced. And this particular tracking system or trading system was put in place to prevent global warming. Okay, let's go into the next article. All right. So the carbon price hits record high above 45 euros. And we scroll down just a little bit. Prices have been rising sharply since the European Union agreed last year to toughen its climate targets, which will increase demand for permits. All right. It forces power plants or automotive manufacturers, factories, and airlines running European flights to buy a permit for each ton of CO2 they emit, effectively putting the price on pollution. All right, now keep in mind, if it's getting colder, more pollution, more CO2 has to happen. And yes, these particular manufacturers, they are doing what they can so that they're not polluting as much as part of their manufacturing process. They are, okay? But I'm just noting here that these are the laws that are going out, and it's colder, and this is what's happening. So that's in the power sector. Now, I just want to take a quick moment here, all right? Think about this for a minute. It's been getting colder, and you saw the title of these articles, and they came out in April. What was going on in the news at that time in April? So I did a quick check. European cold weather in 2021. Let's just read down the headlines. Washington Post. Europe shivered through the coldest April in decades. The conversation. Europe has had a cold and wet spring. All right. Over here at another one. Europe May 2021 outlook. Recap on record cold and dry April. Bad news for Europe. ECMWF sees cold May for 2021. February 2021, very cold first half of Europe and North. Okay, so you get the idea here. Okay, so these are things that are happening in Europe. It's cold, 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 cold. Now, just as a kind of a note to all of you out there, it just so happens that NASA had put out recently that it's going to get a little colder, and they put that on some article on nasa.gov. So that's just something they were saying. So keep in mind, it's cold. All right. Now, what in the world is going on with that? All right. So in this climate change initiative to help reduce greenhouse gases and to prevent the world from getting warmer, and while it has been getting colder for colder springs and colder winters, snaps that is, in Europe for the past 2 years, they are noting that they want to reduce CO2 emissions by 55% by 2030. So let's go into the ambitious efforts of our two German automotive manufacturers. Let's start with Ambition 39 or 2039. Mercedes-Benz is pushing ahead with transformation of CO2 neutrality with a package of measures along the entire value chain. Now, what in the world does all this have to do with the automotive blockchain? I want you to keep in mind that with all of these initiatives going out and these manufacturers having to purchase carbon credits, or I should say, carbon allowances in order to manufacture the vehicles, and it's getting colder, essentially what that means is that they are being charged more to get these permits to produce the cars in order to be more efficient and to be more CO2 neutral. Okay, I'll repeat that. In order to be more CO2 neutral, they have to buy allowances. Because it's cold out, the cost of those are going up, and in order for them to meet the European Union standards, they're going to have to pay more as the weather gets colder. Why? Because it is a law that they must follow. By what year? 2030, 2039, and 2050. That's just what they're doing. So that's what's happening here. And every manufacturer is doing their damnedest in order to make sure that they meet this or get it done quicker. Why? Because they don't want to be paying all that money for these allowances. So if they can draw their energy from sources that are CO2 neutral, then they'll do that. And you may be asking, oh, really? Is that making all sense? Well, yes, it is. And the reason why I say that is because if we go over to another article over here, sorry about that, Mercedes-Benz to source CO2-free electricity from 2022 on. They don't want they don't want to have carbon allowances. They're going to pull as much as possible from wind, from hydropower, as well as solar as much as possible. And you can see here in this highlighted part, solar park with the size of 60 football pitches. And when they're saying football, American people, they're referring to soccer. Near someplace in Germany, they have 24 wind farms, 200 wind turbines, and all sorts of other stuff. So basically, they have enough electric power to basically, that can be consumed by 65,000 households annually. Okay, so that's what these things are just putting out. It's just or giving. It's awesome. All right, now. That being said, let's bounce over to BMW. BMW also has ambitious goals by idling up the same time of year. And their goal is, well, they want to make sure that they're able to reduce it. How much are they going to reduce it? 200 million tons. This equivalent to more than 20 times the annual CO2 emissions of a city with over 1 million inhabitants. So notice two things here. They're comparing it to what happens in cities. This is an ambitious goal that they must complete. And along with that, they're going to make sure that every single model that they possibly can, or at least 50% of them, by that magic year of 2030, is meeting and being fully electric. Why? Because they want to make sure they're meeting the goals. All right. So think about that for a minute and tell me what you think of this. Now, when it comes down to it, and you realize it's getting colder, and these manufacturers are going to have to be charged in order to produce eco-friendly cars, where's all that pricing and those increased costs to these manufacturers going to go? Is it going to go to them? Are they going to absorb that cost? Or are they going to pass that cost down to you, the end consumer? I'm here to tell you that the retail purchaser and the retail investor, it's going to be you. Now, what about all the blockchain involved in that? All of this will be tracked on the wonderful blockchain. That is correct. I did a video about this before, and I'm just going to provide you with a quick recap. Daimler as well as BMW, they're both working on similar projects. Blockchain Pilot Project provides transparency on CO2 emissions. It is there for you folks. They are working with various companies, and here's the thing. They're working with companies all throughout their entire supply chain. And this is where companies like Circular and cryptocurrencies, as well as companies such as Ocean Protocol from the Daimler side, are going to play unique roles in this project as they begin to roll out. I'm here to tell you, everyone, that this particular industry is just getting started. Pay close attention to the currencies that are going to be rolling out that will be decentralized, because a lot of this stuff is going to be in the walled gardens of the individual manufacturers, and you're going to have to pay close attention and do your research to say, hey, what sort of distributed ledger technologies are out there that are going to enable these particular walled gardens of Daimler and all of their suppliers who have proprietary information in and of themselves to communicate with each other, to be interoperable and do cross-chain communication. That's what you're going to have to look out for. All right. So, hey, everyone, this is the Automotive Blockchain Channel. Let me know what you think of this article, or these articles. Let me know what you think of this video. Put some comments down there, and do not forget to subscribe and pass it on. Thank you very much.